Start from the beginning here. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I will close the DHCP because you don't want to. Okay, now this is the exercise to configure the DHCP. Okay. So start the server manager. My DHCP is already installed. So then I don't need to add rows because it's already there. Go, click on Tools, DHCP. Then you go maximize this to make it easier for you. Just maximize these screens. Click on DHCP4 and then right click and new scope. We'll call it scope 10. Let's call it scope 10, okay? Start IP address will be 192.168.20. We'll start from 1, okay? And end IP address is 1. We did not change it. 192 here, okay? 192.168.21, and here 192.168.20.100. We're gonna use the first 100 for our subnet mask, for our scope. By the way, for the length of the subnet, be careful. This is a class C, so we need a 24. Okay. Like what we have studied, by default, it will be 24. Okay. Next. Now I need to exclude some IP addresses. They will ask you, okay, exclude the first 10 IP addresses, let's say. So to do that, you just put the IP address from 1 until 10. If they tell you to exclude the first 10 IP addresses, 168.20.10, and then add. Okay, next. For how many days your lease duration? By default, it will be 8 days, but we can increase it to 10 days if we like. Next. Now they ask you, do you want to configure? And by the way, in the practical, they will ask you to configure not only the scope and exclusion, they will ask you to use DHCP to configure DNS and gateway. So you click, you say, yes, I want to configure the options. We call them options, DHCP options. Okay. So what is your default gateway? It will be my DC machine. Revision DC, so it's 192.168.20.1. What will be my DNS? Leave it as it is. Don't write anything here. It is correct, and your IP address is correct. So then you just hit click. All right, and this will leave it default. And then, yes, I want to make sure to activate it. Otherwise, it's not activated, it's not working. So now our DHCP, our scope is there. If I click on the scope, I click on the address pool. You see my address pool is from 1 to 100. You need to take a screenshot in the exam to show that you have done your work. Okay. You can close this, Yeah. All right. And this is my, are you still able to see my screen? Yes.
Yes, sir.
And this is my exclusion. So we are all good. Now here it will show you any address if it was this. Because we are not connecting any computer to it, we don't have any leases so far. So this is all what we need to know about DHCP. The next exercise, we will configure the DNS. Okay, so let's close DHCP. Let's go to Server Manager. tools, DNS. Now this is my DNS screen. Okay. You see, this is my forward lookup zone. I need to create a zone. This is my forward lookup zone, and this is my revision1.local. That's my DC, and it's already registered. So that's to my reverse lookup. This is my reverse lookup. I will need to add a zone there. But let's go first to the forward lookup zone. Right click, new zone. Next, it's a primary zone, and store the zone in the Active Directory. Okay. Next, and just by default. Okay, don't change anything. Next, zone name, we are going to name it revision What was our domain name? Revision DC, right? Do you remember? Revision DC, okay. .local. Next. Now it says, do you want to allow dynamic update? Or what is the type of dynamic update that you want to allow? Okay, we will allow only secure dynamic, so we'll just say next. Or for the sake of the exercise, we'll just say do not allow, according to what they ask you in the exam. So here I will say do not allow. Okay, and finish. You see here, this is the forward lookup zone that I have created. Now I need to create two records here. They might ask you, create two records. Create an A record. So to create an A record, and then we give any name. Let's say we want to create an A record, okay, for, let's say Sam, we call Sam, or let's say we have one finance, let's call it finance, okay, and we'll give it an IP address, okay, 192.168.20.131, okay. If you create an associated pointer, this is a trick I'm telling you here, it will automatically create a record in the reverse lookup zone. So I recommend that you do that. Okay. Add host. Yeah, because we still have not created a reverse lookup zone. All right. So you can see here my finance is created. My finance host is created. Let's create another one. But this time it will not be an A. We'll create a new alias. So we'll give it a name. So let's call it, there we called it finance. So here let's call it budget. Okay. And it will refer to what? To finance. So if they are both referring to the same thing. Budget is just an alias, yani like nickname to finance. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now, if they ask you also to create a new mail exchange record, MX, again, you just type Okay. But by default, this one you leave it empty, the host or child domain. This is our domain, revision.dc.local. All right. Now our mail server is the same because we have only one server here. Okay. Or we can search for it, browse. We don't have a mail server, so we just put our DC. Priority is 10. Okay, so you see a record now for mail exchange. You see it? Very good. Now if we go to the reverse lookup zone, we'll create a zone here. Right click on new zone. Primary zone for reverse. Okay. And the IP address is 192. This is the subnet IP address, 168.20. Okay. Next. So this is my reverse lookup zone. My reverse lookup zone. And now, if I want to create a record here, we call it PTR. Okay. So let's say if I want to put a host IP address of 167. Okay. And this one will be referring to, we give it an IP, we will give a name of, let's say, finance, we can call it HR. Okay. You see here, if I type this IP address, it will refer to HR. That's why we call it a pointer. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Very
Yes, sir.
good. So here we have created one record for PTR, so we are done with DNS, mashallah. That's really good. So we have done DHCP and DNS in almost